Hey guys, hello YouTube. This is our premiere debut video here at Meatloaf Media. What a ridiculous fucking name, but I like it. So, I've been a long time D&D player, role-playing player in general, as well as an MMORPG player, MMOs, just all of that. A lot of people my age, right? And the millennials, we've just grown up on it. Really, a lot of us are into it. So, I'm sure you can understand my absolute fucking just joy and just happiness that comes with when a new MMO is potentially going to be released. Sometimes I get caught up in the hype train. I've been part of a couple of those Kickstarter videos, the Kickstarter MMOs that then you pay some money to be a part of. You get into the community and you're like having all this fun, and then it just comes out from under you and they never open at all, and they don't even give you a beta or an alpha, and your money's gone. Into the wind. So just the fact that this new one, obviously you can see what's on the screen, Ashes of Creation, has continued to provide updates and continue to progress, and there's a lot more of a microscope on them because of all the bad shit we've had to deal with in the MMO community. But one of my favorite things is character creation. A lot of my friends that I grew up with and that I'm still friends with now, thank goodness for the internet, being able to be friends with people so far away and still enjoy each other's company. I have a disease, is what they call it, where I can't stop making characters because I have all these fucking crazy ideas for characters. And, sometimes I try to push my, my love of role-playing into an MMO, which never feels good. Right? I want to make 100 tunes and they've all got a theme and this is going to be a this and that, and it never works out, and I never make it to in-game because all I'm worried about is making a new character because I had this great idea, and it never really translates well. And I think part of it is that I always have this need or this want to have like a unique character in these worlds, and that's the problem is that all the fantasy books I read or sci-fi, all of the R-play? The role-playing games that I play, like the tabletop stuff, your character feels unique in the world. Even if they are just a vanilla fighter who does the same things as all the fighters, has all the same abilities because that's just the best thing to do, but you still feel unique. And in MMOs, the only way to feel unique is through cosmetics, which is great, and I like it. It's just, I don't know, you can't really change your playstyle a lot to the way you like to. Changing your playstyle on an MMO is just whether or not you want to use this ability or that ability, or you're tanky or you do more damage, and that's not quite as dynamic as I would like. But anyway, this is a long drawn out thing to talk about why I am excited for Ashes of Creation, and besides all the hype videos that a lot of people more popular than me have done, it's because of this. I'm pointing at my screen because I assume that you can see my fingers pointing at my other screen. It's because of this right here. 8 archetypes that can combine for up to 64 combinations of a different class. What is that? Now, sure, let's forget about all the different skills that'll have to work and the balancing and people complaining that, this or that, and there's going to be a meta, quote unquote, because there always is. There's going to be let's say there's going to be one build for each fucking thing. Each archetype's going to have one or 2 top builds, and that's it. Everybody else is just going to be like, oh, they suck, you don't play those unless you want it, because that's just who we are now. It's just gamers in general. But I like to make characters. I have that disease, and when I saw that you could have up to 64 different combinations, so essentially 64 unique classes to an extent, right? I don't expect there to be absolutely drastic differences between all 64, all your cleric variants are going to have slightly, probably going to have 50 to 60% of the similar things, and then the other 30 or 40% are going to be different. Hopefully a lot of flavor involved in that. If you don't know what flavor means, I don't know how people use it, so I got it from Magic the Gathering. We call it flavor text on the bottom of one of their cards, where it kind of gives you a little funny thing, or it talks about the lore of that card or the world that the card takes place in. So when I say flavor, I mean things that a tell sword. Okay, it's where you merge a fighter and a bard. Your primary is a bard, and then you're a fighter. So you're a bard first, you're a fighter second, you're a tell sword. So he'll have fighter abilities, or she. They'll have fighter abilities, right? And then a tell sword, will some of their abilities be really cool, or will they just be really unique and flavorful. So they add more to what a tell sword is, not necessarily overpowering them, but helping create the narrative of the class. So that's what I mean by flavor. So what I wanted to do in like a series, I mean, let's say a 64 series maybe, is just have fun and come up with like ideas behind what a minstrel or a soul weaver or a tell sword or a beast master or a cultist, a shadowcaster, a spellstone, or whatever the hell, what they could be. You know, basically I'd be designing characters that I thought would be neat, that I thought would be fun to play, ideas behind them, and it's a lot of roleplay focus stuff. So if you are what is the word? Power gamer, which is like super negative, but I don't think it should be. It's just the way you like to interact with games. But you may not like it, because this is all going to be about flavor and role-playing and things that I think would be fun, things that I think could be a lot of interest to people that are like-minded as myself. Because even in role-playing games and honestly in MMOs, I am much more into the flavor than I am into the actual game. Like, yes, I want to proceed and progress and win and make progress through a storyline to get the cooler shit for my character, to develop my character further. I'm apparently just like an author who can't write, is terrible with grammar, and would rather just live it out, live the stories I create in my head and that I escape from the world in through my characters in video games and role-playing games. So that's really what it's going to be focused on, and the plan currently is to do a video for each one of these, how they go or how they'll be constructed, not entirely sure. This specific video will in fact be much longer than the other ones. I'll try to keep them shorter just because I am doing this intro, since it is the premiere video of the mogul, the absolute giant of Meatloaf Media. Just Meatloaf. That has to do with my old gamer tag and a big story. Maybe I'll explain it sometime. But that's the idea, and I don't know where to start. Do I start at the top corner and just come down? Do I focus on Bard as my primary and just shoot across? Or maybe I do start as Bard as my secondary and I shoot down. That way we kind of get a really big difference. So, double down on Bard, you're a minstrel. You're a cleric first and then a Bard second. You're a scryer. And which way do I go? I'm not entirely sure. I'll probably roll a dice, or I'll just fucking pick one and go with it. Pick an archetype and use it as a primary and go through the secondary. So I'm really excited about it. And that's what the videos are going to be about. So first, though, one thing that I hear people talking about is there is this weird dynamic where Ashes of Creation is trying to really embrace the immersion, the discovery of things throughout the world and the map, the dynamic, everything. While it all looks great, I think they're going to have different servers. Like, I know they have RP servers and stuff in regular MMOs, but I think there really is going to be like, they need to have a server where perhaps there's, I don't want to say no mini-map because it probably pissed me off. Maybe like a trimmed down mini-map. Because when it comes to like world events and everything, I don't know if anybody's watched some of the newer videos, but they talk about how they're going to try to use lighting and visual cues and sound cues to really make you aware that like world events or events in the world, they're the exact same thing. World events in the world, that they're the same thing. What am I? All right, cut. Okay, so they're going to use the visual cues and the sound cues to signify when a world event starts, right? And so when that event pops up, hopefully you have this huge audio cue or visual cue that puts you there. And some people will want it on a mini-map, like a big pop-up or something that pops up, maybe an arrow over top of you pointing one way or the other, right? So that you know where to go. And if not, then you're just going to be in Discord or on Twitter and waiting for somebody to tell you that it's live and where to go. I think that the modern MMORPG player wouldn't, like the majority of them, wouldn't enjoy a event where they don't know it's happening. They don't know that it's going to happen. I don't think they'll enjoy that. So I think having a separate server for people who like that, where like if you're adventuring as your shadow disciple or weapon master out way over here, and there's an event quite a ways away, you're like, oh man, I missed it. Oh man, that sounds sick. Well, that's not where I was adventuring. Some people are going to be fine with that, and I think it'll help create this cool hype around when you're in the right spot at the right time, or, oh, I can make it to that event, I can see the sky darkening over there, or whatever. But I think a majority of gamers won't like that. And I think having that separation when it comes to various things would be great, because me as an RP first guy is why I'm saying it, because just the same things, like all the shit that I would like as like an RP centered flavor guy, right? I bet 90% of you will not like. And I do not expect, I'm such a minority when it comes to the things that I enjoy in a video game that I don't expect a giant project such as this, B, other people to change the way that they interact and enjoy with a video game just so that I'm happy, right? If it would be cool if it was as easy as them making a couple separate servers that have maybe slightly, I don't want to say dumbed down features, but maybe not as intricate features, so that, we had to explore more and we had to be in places more. And, we could miss shit because we weren't over there. We're role-playing on the wrong part of the continent when this fucking dragon comes down, or a zombie invasion, or whatever happens. And then if my buddies who are a lot more like, progress the story, I want on a leaderboard, I want people to know my name, tell my story, those guys are on a different server, maybe I have a character on both, or I have 30,000 characters on one server and like 2 characters over there, whatever. I think having that separation would be really cool. Do I expect it? No. Would I be upset if they don't do it? Not really. But, I'm just so kind of easygoing. I mean, they've already pretty much, if they deliver, if they don't make anything else, and they just come out and all these 64 classes feel different and can have their role, and the world is dynamic and all that shit, then I am already in. And I could easily have this be like the only game I play. Because for a week I'm focused on a Soul Weaver, and then the next week I'm playing a Wild Blade, and after that I'm on a Warlock or a Falcon or a Spell Hunter or a Spell Sword or a Weapon Master, a Protector, or an Oracle, a Templar. See how crazy that is? That's fucking dope for a guy like me who's got a problem. I need like characters anonymous. Hi, I'm Meatloaf and I have an issue. But so that's really cool. I'm very excited for that. I'm very excited for what Ashes of Creation could be. However, as excited as I am, I don't want to just jump on the hype train, because I have been burned and run over so many times. So many times. Pour one out for WildStar. Pour one out for EverQuest Next. Pour one out for Chronicles of Illyria. Shit. What was another one that I bought into that I thought was going to be good? What was the big, like, King of the Hill MMO where you fought each other? Fuck, what was that? I think it's still going on, but it just crashed and burned. It was like all about territories and owning territories and fighting in like a King of the Hill thing. If I think of it, I'll just throw it in the video right here. Here. Maybe there. And if I don't, I couldn't remember or find it. So, there's just, I'm excited. And I think this is going to be fun for me. It's going to help me. I haven't been able to play D&D a lot lately, or any role-playing games lately. Recently had a kid, so, I've got an almost 5-year-old. I've got a 10-month-old, about to be 11-month-old. And then the wife and the house and doing what you can to make money. I haven't had time to do any of that, and I love it. So I think working in like a content creation kind of situation and trying it out, giving YouTube a shot, and doing this would be a lot of fun. And it'll give me a reason to do things that I like and make videos about it for what could be a potentially awesome outlet for my role-playing addiction. Since I don't get to play a lot of video games anymore, and I don't get to play a lot of role-playing anymore, to have one game like Ashes of Creation to be available to where I could just hit both fixes at the same time would be fucking dope. So let's just get into the very first archetype combination that I'm going to do. We will come up with a name, maybe 2 or 3 different names. We'll come up with a character. We'll come up with a backstory. And then we'll just kind of have fun with it. And we'll read, we'll go through what Ashes of Creation says. Like, so if we just say we did a bard, a double down on a bard, and it's a minstrel, we'll look into what a bard is, what they say a bard is, maybe look a little bit of that. Then we'll look to see what they say. Well, in this case, nothing. But if it was a cleric, we'd look into a cleric and see what a cleric says, what they say about a cleric. And then we go into Scryer and see what they say. And then what we can do is dissect parts of that see how they interact with the scryer, and then we'll just make shit up from there. If if other stuff comes along and they like start releasing abilities for these classes, then maybe we can go back and modify the story or modify the idea behind the character. And if I had to have like an A+ goal, like a dream pie in the sky goal, it would be that at some point through these 64, maybe one video gets super cool popular, and one idea for it could become an NPC in the game. Probably hard to do. Sure. Will it happen? 99.9% that it won't. Could it be? Is it something to work towards? Fuck yeah, it is. So, stick around. Let's see what we can make up. Thanks, guys. Okay, so we know that the table for Ashes of Creation has 64 different archetypes for the classes, right? So I couldn't really pick because, again, I have a disease and I'm terrible at picking. My indecision is crippling! However, I just used a random number generator. So starting here, we'll go down 1 through 8 and all the way to 64. Great. Boom. Random number generator hit. 57. Go back to our chart. 57 is a Siren. So primary, Bard, secondary, tank, Siren. First thoughts before I look or read or do whatever, right? Siren automatically pretty much puts me as to the sirens from like Greek mythology and Roman mythology, right? Usually aquatic, magical creatures, usually female, usually super attractive, at least to some extent. And they sing their song, and it draws people into them. To me, it sounds, Siren is more of, I guess you could say, like a crowd control mage is what I would think of, right? However, Siren being the name of a support tank, I could dig. Now, it's going to be different, I think. I think it's going to be totally unique. How it'll play out, like as an actual class in an MMO, I got no fucking idea, but boy, we can have fun figuring it out and kind of theorizing, can't we? All right, so primary Bard. So we know Bard is like a hybrid support class, right? So they can boost your defense, or they can boost your offense, or they could even debuff your opponents by performance, whether it be like a gladiatorial martial performance, assuming with a martial class, something like that, or it could be just completely music inspired. I know that there is something in here, if we go to Bard, which we will in a second, that talks about that they want their abilities to be kind of musical. So in the case of a Bard tank and a Siren, in my head I'm kind of visualizing somebody doing like percussive sounds with their shield, maybe their weapon on their shield, their armor, like hitting the ground, kind of like Stomp, if you've ever seen that on Broadway, or not Broadway because you did it when you were in music class in the 4th grade and you guys slammed trash can lids together and everybody clapped because they thought, oh, my baby's so musical. But something like that, right? So if we go like that, that could be a cool way to do it. Now this is super controversial, but do you think something called Siren should be like locked into a specific gender role? I don't think so. I think male and female, everything in between could totally be a Siren. It doesn't matter. Just spitting out things that could not, flavor-wise. What are we talking here? So if we go to Siren, so Siren is made up of Bard and Tank. Ashes of Creation says Bard is in fact a support class, and they are a tactical support class. So they're saying that they want to, they'll have more significance based on their mobility and placement in battle. So placement is going to be a big thing, opposed to, your traditional Bard, maybe with a little bit with their loot, maybe like a little crossbow or a ranged ability, and they're way the fuck in the back going, all right, guys, go ahead. Yeah, no. So being more on their mobility and their placement in battle, translating that to where your secondary is a martial class, let alone a martial class of tank, where you would be in the fray, in the battle, makes me think that you would be good at boosting defense, maybe martial damage, right? You wouldn't do as much for buffing your magical damage in your party, but you would maybe do better for your party's defense, probably physical defense, opposed to magical defense, again, flavor-wise, just off the top of my head. So you would be good at maybe boosting or debuffing physical damage, whether receiving or giving, and then for both, yeah, both sides, right? Or maybe you use distracting, like taunting. Your taunting is on the next fucking level. But at the same time, would you want your taunting to be on the next fucking level if your like primary is a Bard? You're not going to be as tanky as somebody who's got 2 martial classes or is just double down on tank, right? So would you want to have better taunting, aggro control than like a full tank? I don't think so. Now, would you maybe be better at AoE taunting, weaker enemies. So maybe your primary role while you're a support would be like an off tank. I don't know how things are going to be designed when it comes to like raids and encounters and dungeons. I know they're all dynamic and open world and whatever, but you know what? Is a majority of the content going to be done by large groups, 10, 20, 30? Or is the majority of the content for your average person? Not talking our hardcore people, but our casual guys and gals. Is it going to be a small group? 4 people, 6 people, 3 people? And if so, is there even a need for an off tank? Where are these guys going to fit in? Who knows? But I think it's going to be really fun to just kind of come up with a person. Come up with a character. So right off the bat, so our primary is our mobility and placement in battle. We are a bard. So right away, the character I'm thinking of isn't necessarily like a battle-hardened, big, burly, physically imposing individual, right? So whether it be whatever race it is, I don't think they would be overly burly and scary. It could be, who knows? However, in my mind, you're a bard first, so you're artistic first. So it's like the guy at art school who maybe used to be a professional athlete or like was going down the athlete path and then was like, I don't really love it. I just did it because I'm a big person. And I really love to sing or dance or paint or sculpt. And that's kind of the same idea I have in my head for what this Siren would be. So obviously in my head it would be something more musical than sculpting or anything like that, because bards can really have any sort of performance. Most of the time it's oratory, so we'll say singing and music. So we'll say first one, let's make a male of some race. Let's talk races. Humans, dwarves, orcs, elves. What is that? Is a combination of 4 major races and many minor races that were left behind after their... It's a mutt. There's a mutt? I didn't even know there was a mutt. Well, that's cool. We don't want to mess with that because I'm about to read that and figure out what the fuck. Okay, so... Human, dwarf, orc, elves. My head, musically inclined. Would, it makes me think just traditional, traditional stereotypes? Kind of seems weird. Would be an elf. More artistic, right? Elegant, what have you. However, I think humans can fall in that as well. Now, the more I think about it, the more I think of a Siren. Well, again, the oratory bard part of it. Being a tank makes me think of somebody who was being forced to, or their whole family was in this big defender, tankish, martial role, right? And this just happens to be the black sheep that likes to sing and make music more than they like to, wage into a wave of goblins and take their heads and take them back and hang them on the wall. So now that kind of makes me want to make it a dwarf or an orc, because I think that would be fun. And for sheer just hilarity, I think an orc would be awesome. A Rinkai. Oh, Rinkai. I did it. Rinkai. All right, so they're the playable orc race. Honor, power, tranquility. Imagine honor, power, tranquility. Showing up and being like, I am a Rinkai. Fear my physique, my power, my strength. Be intimidated by my E flat. Or whatever. Like, hilarity to me. I like it. I think we should go with that. I think that would be awesome. So we'll make our Siren, primary bard, secondary tank. That's so that when we're talking like flavor and we're talking ideas and thoughts of the character, I don't forget that they are first a bard and then a tank. So I think I like this. We'll make him a Rinkai, right? And then from Rinkai, let's play with that. All right, so bard, we got this. We got support, yeah, jack of all trades, word, master of, what is it? Jack of all trades, master of none. However, if you continue down that path, that actually goes on longer as a saying, where it talks about how much more beneficial it is to be a jack of all trades. Buffs related to the performance in combat. Lands a skill shot against a target. So yeah, that makes me feel like this will be a lot of fun. You know, you'll have a lot of like, okay, I hit my opponent. Maybe like they expose a weak point. Hey, I got a critical hit on this mob. So now everybody kind of, flavor-wise, you holler out like, hey, hit him in the lower back. He's got problems, you know? And then buff-wise, skill-wise, okay, everybody gets an increased critical crit chance for the next 5 seconds, 8 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever. They figure the fuck out. So that could be really neat. Now, I will tell you something I ran into while researching some of the classes is, did you know that in the large-scale sieges, that if you have 8 or more of the same primary class together, and they all use the same ability, if there's 8 of them, and you have to be in the same group, raid group or siege group or whatever it is, it actually combines to make like a bigger. Like they said, for example, in the tank, it says that they have an ability to make a wall. Well, if 8 of them use it at the same time, it would make like a giant wall that could separate a raid completely in half, or a siege group completely in half. So that's really cool. That's just a little sideway. But so, what can we do? So we need a name. I don't really know what. Let's see. Let's see if they come up with what they think a name could be. No, not really. Okay, cool. Well, let's just do orc names. You know, they're just like random letters put together in like guttural sounds. So when I do characters, a lot of the times I like to do like the first name kind of being an homage to the race, whatever it might be, right? And then the last name being like something that hints to like what the character is or what they do. So, you know, so we're a Siren, but we're going to be in battle. We're going to be a tank. So maybe our last name has to do with like, now these are just thoughts, like a song shield or a treble clef. Or, you know, I'm just thinking of like musical terms and then how we could use them. He's going to get in a lot of trouble. Okay, so first name, let's just think. I've had many orc characters. Let's just think Gorthar. Gorthar. The answer. I like it. Seems like it, right? Seems orky. Let's do it. So we'll do Gorthar, but what would the last name be? Song Shield. Cool. Yeah, sure. However, Song Shield doesn't seem as like... So if I'm an orc, I'm thinking like vicious yet artistic. So we're somewhere in the middle of like, I like to blend words together and make these beautiful sounds that enlighten and just bring joy and a fierce battle. So let's make it a little more battle, like a battle song, right? And if he's an orc and he likes music, maybe it's not as artsy-fartsy as, you know, like an elf would be. Maybe it is more of like a raging battle singer. What are some of the older terms from different games? Like a rage prophet? No, that's not very... Ooh, like a heavy metal. Yeah! Right? Like his guitar, his axe. And he's in there and he's a tank. So he's heavy metal. Okay, so what if Gorthar, who's a Siren, is he's a heavy metal? Like, let's think about that. What if he was heavy metal? That'd be kind of cool. I don't know if anybody ever saw that game. I never played it. The one where Jack Black was in a medieval world and he had his axe and you were playing as a rocker in the medieval world. Something like that. Kind of seems like a cool place to draw a little inspiration for Gorthar. So let's say Gorthar axe. You could use axe, but that seems very orky. Battle axe, battle rage, rage axe, hymn, blood hymn. Oh. What about blood hymn? Because violence is his religion. Ha! Ha! I like it. Gorthar blood hymn. Hymn? With an N? Does it have an N? Well, it does now. So, deal with it. Okay. So now we're working on Gorthar blood hymn. Let's see. Gorthar. Where did he start? Okay, so he grew up as an orc, right? He grew up in a vicious orc tribe who absolutely put nothing but pride and honor and societal standing on your physical prowess, your strength, Just all physical characteristics. They don't give a shit if you've got a good personality. They don't care what you look like, really. They just want you to be big and scary and vicious. Now, mind you, time out. These are all stereotypes, I guess, that I pulled from other games. Will the orcs be as like savage and brutal and primitive? Probably not. They're not even really that much so here and there in different popular games. Maybe they're not in this game either. I really should do more research on that to see if they are. We pulled them up, right? Have always adhered to a strict code of tribal loyalty. So tribal, it makes me think less civilization, more tribes, right? And if we're more tribes, maybe we're not as advanced as we could be, so that would lend itself to being more quote-unquote savages, not necessarily we eat our own young savage, or we eat the flesh of our, enemies. Got really fucking dark, huh? But, cool. So let's keep going. Okay. Roughly 13 centuries before the fall of a leader named Rankal united the clans into a nation called the Kaviak Protectorate. Cal taught all the orcs answer to the protection of the Divine Order. Okay, Divine Order, so they recognize a higher power. The teaching expressed the belief that it was the will of the gods that all orc kind should have a superiority over the nations of Era. Word. So they believe that they have the divine mission to rule over the world. Huh. For it was only through unity of the clans that the people of Vera would lead to the Enlightenment. It was the teachings of Cal that led the Kaviak to pursue campaigns of conquest across the lands of Vera, where the orcs were once nomadic and divided before Cal seems like the white way to say it. Before Call, that seems a little more. Before Call, through his leadership, they became a powerful nation united in conquest. Trophies of each city conquered found in the capital city of Rin, just before the fall of the Kaviak Protectorate. Just before the fall, the Kaviak Protectorate have adopted a policy of peaceful coexistence with their neighbors. Having endured centuries of conflict, leaders rose among them, echoing the teachings of peace. These recent reformations have once again begun to lead to the fracturing of the Protectorate. Some unrest among the clans have called for the culling of those who are unworthy of the protection of the Divine Order. Okay, so we're not a raging war band. Perhaps they used to be. Kind of looks like they used to be. Now they are essentially, let's call kind of like a wolf, a pack, but they've been restrained and turned into house dogs because they want them to be peaceful. And obviously it looks like, I'm assuming so much here, that they are the instinct of the battle-driven, blood-focused, battle-driven, blood-hungry, bloodthirsty instinct is kind of coming through, and some are okay with the peace and everything, but that other the feelings, the instinct is coming through, and they're like, dude, let's just go fucking kill people. They want to kind of be on their own and be on the top again. Yes, sure. So if we take that into consideration, I think that Gorthar bled him. So he grows up, right? We grow up in this situation. We are at peace. However, maybe his dad, his parents in general, or maybe a grandfather who actually remembers the time when they were nomadic and fighting against the land and moving around. Gorthar grew up with this idea in his head, the stories. Maybe his grandpa told epic tales about the way the orcs used to be nomads, and that kind of led to him wanting to be a storyteller, like wanting to be somebody who tells all these stories. He got mesmerized by the epics that his grandfather told, and then it got to his dad, who didn't really, maybe was the same. Sure, let's say he was the same, and they just told all these epic stories, and then maybe he heard, since they are at peace, he hears other races coming around, bards from other races telling stories to music, performing. And he starts taking all these just fantastical ideas and these fantasy scenes that he's created throughout his childhood from his grandfather and his father, and they just kind of take place up there, and he starts putting them to music, and he starts putting them with these grand these grand epics that are being told by other bards from other races from around the world, and he just starts creating all of this like amazing shit in his head until that kind of primarily takes over what he wants to do, and maybe he gets less into the physical and the swinging of the swords and the blah blah blah, and he gets less of that, but the instinct is there because that's who they are. So Bard becomes our primary class because Gorthar becomes so addicted is a bad way to say it. He becomes so enchanted with the idea, the thoughts, the scenes that he's created in his head from the stories from the chieftains or the higher up orcs, the older orcs, the elder orcs that are in his life. He's created these fucking just like, what am I trying to think of? These epics in his head, you know? These Odysseus ideas, these Hercules ideas in his head of what orcs used to be and what they could be. And he's just so into it, enchanted by it. And that's what he wants to do. He wants to spread that. However, that instinct is bubbling up in him that the orcs have kind of been tamed and pulled back and what have you, right? And still the orcs are still a big imposing race, so he's still physically involved in battle trainings and this and that in order, because that's just what you do, right? You don't always, you can't just be an orc who goes and tells stories and being a bard. The amount of orc bards is super low for all reason. They are the art kid at, insert completely opposite of art thing group here, and they like art and they're like shoved off to the side, so they just kind of hide it, and you just kind of find out that dude who you thought was just a cool big offensive lineman is actually like a really fucking good singer, or he writes some bomb ass poems. That's kind of who the Gorthar blood hymn is going to be, right? So being bard primary, so that's what we'll say. He's like inspired by. I really want to type it all in here, but my microphone fucking just takes it all up. So what I'll do is I will probably just type this all up and then just like throw it on the screen at various times, because like, listen, that's just normal typing and it comes through that thing so loud. All my friends on Discord are like, dude, stop typing. Part of it's my setup. I got a really janky ass setup because I don't do this often. So, okay, so we're going to say Gorthar blood hymn, thanks to his grandfather and his father telling the war stories of the past, the epics of what the orcs used to be, the history of the orcs being nomadic, traveling the lands, battling each other, not being bound by a treaty of peace. Before the Divine Order, they were just like a more savage, a more animalistic, a more working on your urges and your instinct kind of tribe. And that is in the body, right? That instinct is in Gorthar. However, because of the epics and the poems and everything, then enter all of that into his mind and then bring into the peace, bring into the other races being involved and part of his life. He finds about the bard culture, the storytelling culture, the epics, the music, the this, the that, and he kind of combines it all into himself. Gorthar blood hymn, the Siren. So as a Siren, what would he do? So he discovers that's what he loves. That's what he does. That's like his lifeblood. And then he combines that with the fact that he is a big, imposing orc. He's stronger than usual, hardier than other people, things like that. And he becomes, he kind of rolls into that tank perspective because he can wear the heavy armor. He can wear that big shield and it doesn't bother him. He can wield the big weapon because he's strong and it's nothing to him. It's like me and you putting on a backpack and a sports shirt. He's putting on plate mail and a fucking tower shield or some shit. Like, it doesn't bother Gorthar because he is Gorthar blood hymn. the bringer of fucking plate mail and power cords. Okay, I'm gonna type it. You're gonna have to deal with it. Bringer of plate mail and power cords. I like it. So then we get Gorthar, and that's what he is. He's a primary bard, secondary tank, Rinkai. So we get in battle or we get in a situation. What would his personality be like? So he'd be somewhat. I'm terrible at coming up with accents. So Gorthar would be somewhat like, let's say, would he be crass? I guess because he's an orc. I would assume they're not very like, I don't want to say articulate, but they wouldn't have a large vocabulary, one might say. They might not be highly educated. They may still be educated. I'm not saying they're dumb, but they're just not highly educated. He's got a more simple vocabulary. Let's do that. Instead of smaller, a simple one. Anyway. Buddy has a flair for the dramatic first, right? And then he's the crass soldier tank guy. So Gorthar would be like, man, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like parallels. Like, okay, so like good storytellers. I don't know if you've heard it, but Dave Grohl is like a kick-ass storyteller. When he does his audiobook, he records it. My wife loves it. So like kind of like a good storyteller, musician kind of deal. Lead himself to like a little bit of cockiness, but not too much, because he knows that he's got skill and he believes in his skill. He loves his skill. So that leads to like his arrogance maybe. And then on top of that arrogance, he is, you know, a giant fucking orc. So there's a little more arrogance on top of that. But he's not like so arrogant to the point of, I don't even want to fucking deal with this guy. He's just arrogant to the point of like, oh, there's 30 of them and 5 of us. What are we going to do? Enter Gorthar. Gorthar's like, but I am Gorthar Bloodhim. By the sounds of my armor, by the sounds of me beating upon my shield and the sound of my blood scream, he's like, they will fall before me. As long as you guys make sure you guys come up and help, yeah, we'll be good to go. All right. You know, and then he like lets out like a battle hymn or a blood hymn. And, you know, it empowers people, inspires people. And then they go and fight. And Gorthar's like, you know, gets in there. And we're ripping power chords. And all I can think of is like Tenacious D in the background. Like, they're like trying to run away, right? And they're starting to turn the tide of battle. And they start running. And Gorthar's like, wait, you motherfucker. And they taunt him. And they turn around and they're just like, oh, fuck this guy. Let's get him. You know, and Gorthar's like, ha ha ha. All according to, you've activated my trap card. And then Gorthar Bloodhim and his fucking plate mail and his power cores is ready to kick some ass. Like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's like really cool. This is going to be really fucking fun. Okay, so there's Gorthar. That's a Siren. Primary Bard, secondary tank. He's a Rinkai male. We've named him Gorthar Bloodhim. He is the bringer of both plate mail and power chords. He is a Siren. So he will be in battle, fucking orc elbows deep in battle, buffing his teammates, maybe giving them strength, giving them extra defense. Perhaps a Siren could debuff by intimidating. You know, if you've got a giant bloodthirsty orc singing your demise right in your face, just taunting your ass off, yeah, maybe you might be a little demoralized. Just saying. I think that'd be cool. I think that's him. So yeah, guys, I know once we actually got to the character creation, it was a little shorter than I wanted it to be, really. However, it was really fucking fun. I don't know if making one, you know, obviously leave comments, should I make multiples? Like we made Gorthar, maybe I make a different one of a different race as well. If this video goes on longer past this, it'll be because I decided to, and I went ahead and made a different one, and we kind of went with a different way with it. We'll kind of see time constraint-wise. But that was really, really fun. And making another one seems like it would be even more fun. So I might just do that. And you might have another person, another Siren. But we want them to be different, because there's different people, different flavors. It's motherfucking Baskin Robbins, baby. We got all the flavors, right? So we might want to do another one. That way we not only have... I'm in love with Gorthar Bloodhim, the bringer of plate mail and power chords. Thank you for watching the first video of Meatloaf Media, where we're just going to be making various characters, having fun with them, coming up with all sorts of shit for this. Maybe they turn into something, maybe they don't. For Ashes of Creation, if you enjoyed it, awesome, just like the video. If you didn't enjoy it, dislike the video. I don't care. I don't give a shit. I'm doing this for me more than I am for you. I just thought it'd be fun if I could find more like-minded people who could come up with their own ideas, or give me ideas for how we can do more in depth. One of which is going to be me figuring out this microphone situation. So I actually type up a lot of the stuff on this, so then we'll save them, put them in a file, and maybe we can go back and update them. Maybe I need to come up with a generic character sheet, not necessarily like a D&D sheet or a Masquerade sheet or anything like that, but maybe like a better actual sheet we can go through. That way I can pull them up at any given time, and we can look at them. Yeah, this is a lot of fucking fun. If you actually watch this thing and you're here, man, thanks so much. Say whatever, do whatever in the comments. Let's check it out. I had so much fun hanging out and making Gorthar Bloodhim, the bringer of plate mail and power chords. Thanks again, guys. Have a great day.